Hello and welcome to Brisket 101. This course is delicious, but also low budget. Please enjoy a complimentary paper towel as you struggle not to salivate on your screens. Enjoy!
All right, so we are gonna sharpen up the knives before we begin slicing up brisket. You really need sharp knives when you do that. I have two that I work with. This little short one, which is very, very flexible, as you can see. And then I have that one, which looks like a sushi knife. It's only got a bevel on one side, but it works very good for cutting fat out of that beef there. I'm gonna sharpen these up real good. That ought to be pretty good. So make sure you get that metal shavings off the knife before you put it into that meat. You don't want to eat that. Not good for you. All right, we got a brisket. It is a prime vacuum packaged brisket. I got this one at Costco. I'm gonna try and put the label up there to the screen. Let's see if that'll focus in on that. I don't know if it will or not, but 13.83 pounds, and we paid $3.99 a pound for that thing. But this one looks pretty good out of the store. It's a little heavy on the fat in certain areas, but we're going to trim some of that off, and you'll see me work that right here. So we're going to get it out of the wrap now. Get a pan with high sides because there's going to be blood, there's going to be crud from the meat in there, and you just want to keep that contained and not end up all over your countertop. All right, so I usually leave the heavy fat side for last. I start on the other side. Nice big old meat fork to work with. Flip it over. Kyle, you're gonna find that all briskets have this hunk of fat right here, and this is hard fat. This is not the soft stuff that you actually want to have in the meat. This stuff right here does not render down. It does not melt down in your smoking process. And this is the stuff that people just, if you end up with a mouthful of this, at the end you just chew and chew and chew and you never seem to get through it. That's what this is. You don't want that in your meat. So get rid of it. You'll also see that there's a whole vein of it right here. We're going to cut into that and really dig in and get that out of there. See this? You got the flat end, and then you got the point end. The point end usually is a big fat part. This gets real thin. This right down here, of course, is going to cook a lot faster than this is, but we're going to do some work on this end to get this to come down in size closer to this. So we just work on the fat, and we'll let Ellie speed the camera up a little bit. And on the bottom side, which this is going to end up being the side that's down on the grill. You want to get as much of the fat and silver skin, this stuff here, off as you possibly can shave off, because that stuff just isn't good to eat. And a nice solid blade, whereas this one is flexible. This is good for getting down in the grooves and stuff and like that, but this is better for doing stuff like this here and shaving this off. So have a solid knife, a solid blade knife, as well as a flexible one, and you'll do well with your briskets. Now, you may have some friends tell you certain things about how to slice brisket and do things like that, and brisket really comes down to your personal preference, what you want to do. My family does not care for, in general, they do not care for sliced brisket. They much prefer it pulled and shredded. So in the end, how you cut it against the grain or with the grain doesn't matter one bit, because it's all going to get shredded up. But if you end up wanting to have brisket, can I have tongs please? Wanting to have brisket that is sliced, you will want to slice it against the grain. One of the tricks I learned early on when I was first learning about how to do briskets was down here at the end of the flat. As you look, you can see the grain in the meat right now. Once this goes on the smoke and starts getting a bark on it, you will never see that grain again. You will have no idea which way it's running when it comes off. So, one of the tricks that I was shown was to cut off this corner right here. Just like that. If you're going to slice it, if you're going to slice brisket. You can still smoke this, and don't throw that away. You can still put that on the grill. Cut that big old hunk of fat off a bit. But this way, when you are done, you can tell which side is your grain. You know, cut with that cut right there. Cut against it. Right? Again, if you're just pulling it, shredding it, it doesn't matter in the slightest whether you do that or not. But you do want to get this hard fat stuff off of here. It's just not good to eat. Now I'm going to try and turn this and show you there is a vein of fat running right through here. You can see that, and it runs all the way through. This piece and this piece are actually two pieces of meat, two separate muscles. What we're going to do is we're going to cut down between them, and it's going to fold open like this. And that's when you can get a lot of this fat out from inside. You can see there's a lot of that white fat right there, that hard stuff. Get that out of there. And this little vein right here, get that out as much as you can. It's just not good eating. Actually, this one looks pretty good in the middle there. You don't see a lot of the really hard white fat in there. So I'm not going to dig real far more on that. This is not a competition piece of meat, so I'm not worried about winning any prizes. But again, some of them I've gotten have been really, really bad in the middle there. This is more meat than fat, and I'm glad for that. This one seems to be a pretty good piece of beef. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're not trying to win a prize here, unless you are trying to win a prize. But I wouldn't do that with your very first brisket. The idea here is you want to try to, you definitely want to keep, this is called the fat cap. You want to keep at least 1/4 inch of that across the top, the very best you can. If you skin it a little bit tightly, that's okay. You're not going to hurt anything that way. You can see there's definitely more than 1/4 inch there. We're going to try and shave some of that hard stuff off the top. Again, this is where a nice, large, solid, rigid knife comes in good, comes in handy for doing this right here, kind of this fillet thing you're going to do.
You know, our trip to Israel is only 10 months away.
10 months.
Mm-hmm. I'll be 17 then. I can have a boyfriend. That was the fastest stink eye I've ever given me.
Alright, that right there is meat, so we don't want to cut that off, but there's some fat inside there. If we can get it out, we will. We're starting to skim down to the meat there, you can see that, so I'm going to stop in that area. Alright, so this one has less thick fat on it than I thought originally. That's good. That's a good thing. It means Costco trimmed it well, the first trim. We're just giving it its final trim. I think we're going to call that good. Alright, so our trimming is basically done at this point. And now we got to get this thing into marinate for at least 4 hours. Got 8:19 right now. This thing may go into the smoke around 1 in the morning, something like that. And we'll be having it for dinner tomorrow night. Right now it's 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're going to demonstrate how we make the the marinade that we have settled on around here. And believe me, this marinade went through a whole bunch of tweaks, playing with it, trying different things until eventually my entire family said, "That's it, Dad, leave it alone." At that point, when you have agreement from your entire family and they all like something you cooked, you leave it alone. Because that's rare. All right. So that's not that big a pile, believe it or not. One of the last ones I did from Walmart, that was piled this high. You know, it was just ridiculous how much fat that I pulled off there and threw away. And that was poundage that I paid for when I bought the meat. So this is pretty good. That's not bad at all. We're going to prepare our marinade. All right, so these are the items we need for our marinade. Beef broth. And so I use in fact, everything here gluten-free. Remember, Eliana is gluten sensitive, so we have to be aware of that. But everything in this list here is all gluten-free stuff. So beef broth, Worcestershire sauce, or I call it the worst sauce. Dale's seasoning, and I find this in the local grocery store. This is really good stuff. Gluten-free Kikkoman soy sauce, bottle of the Coca-Cola, and maple syrup. The brand doesn't matter. This is what we just happen to have on hand, so that's what we're going to use.
So with a 1/4 cup of maple syrup, right there, for 116 ounces, and this is 16.9, but details.
We add a little bit of heat to this, not to boil it or anything like that, but just enough to kind of melt all the ingredients together. Just warm it up just a little bit. So how much of that are you putting in?
A half cup.
Half cup.
But unfortunately, the old one doesn't have enough in it.
Oh, no.
New one.
This was one of those tweaks we made. I started off with a 1/4 cup of soy sauce in the mix, and the family all said it was too bland. It was not salty enough, the end product. So I went to 3/4 cup, and they said, "Whoa, Dad, way too salty." So we settled on a half cup, and it seems to have been perfect after that.
Oop.
How much did you pour in?
No, not enough yet. But the little
You lost the cap.
little thing would just...
Okay, we'll throw that away. We can pour it.
Yeah, it'll be fine. There you go. You can move those over. And then the Dale's steak seasoning, which we need a 1/4 cup of. This thing is really good. I've used some of it to mix it in with my noodle sauce. It adds a nice salt, you know? 'Cause I know stuff.
You know stuff. She knows stuff.
I do. I am such a good chef. I know how to use random bottles in the fridge to create something that tastes good. Isn't that what every good chef does, you know? They're given the nastiest ingredients on the planet and they still manage to make a steak dish with a fancy name. Messy.
Alright, it's at the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's in there. And I got this big old Tupperware container here, which is what we'll end up putting the meat in. One more thing I do to the meat that I did not do a few minutes ago. I'm going to move this out of the way. On the fat side of the brisket, one thing that I do, and this, some people will argue with you and tell you don't do it. Others will tell you it's the best thing in the world. I just slice some cubes, not real deep, just barely through the fat layer. Just a nice little X pattern here, just like that. Again, you're not trying to cut all the way through it, just cut into the fat. And what that does is it lets your marinade soak deeper into the meat, lets it get closer to the meat. So you can see the meat down in there between the slices. All right, lets it get to it. Now I pour a little bit of this into the bottom of the pan. I'm going to put this in here fat side down. And it will fit, believe it or not, it will fit. And just dump the rest over it. That's it. And this has to sit in the fridge for at least 4 hours. Overnight is best, but hey, if you're on limited time, 4 hours is fine. Just rock it around a little bit to get it coated real good, cover it up, and refrigerate that dude for the next 4 hours. So sometime after midnight tonight, probably around 1 in the morning, I will get up and I'll put this on the grill. I'll also show you the rub process. I pointed that out to you online. That's the stuff I use right there, and I buy it in 1 pound bags, and I usually buy 4 at a time. And I keep these nice shaker bottles here. So, all right, that's it. I'll see you in a couple hours. Bye. All right, so we're back at 1 o'clock in the morning now. We're going to go outside and we're going to get the grill going and get the smoker lit up. And so it's already been prepared. Got my grill surface ready. Well, it's kind of dark out here to see this, but anyway, we're going to light this thing up at 180 degrees. And then we're going to ignite it. And you hear it beginning to roll. So it's going to take a good 15 minutes or so for that to get going. And we're going to let it go. All right, so here's our piece of beef out of the sauce, laid it out here. And this is what's the side that's going to be on the grill, towards the grill. So we start with that first. Got our Cosmos Q SPG here. And I'm going to shake this across every surface, including, remember when we cut this apart, take the fat out, we're going to get it down in here as well, right? Nice heavy coat of this everywhere, on every surface. I actually have some of these rubber coated gloves that I got at Tractor Supply. They work real good for this. And I usually wear one. My not my dominant hand. I wear it on my left hand. I use that one to coat the stuff everywhere. Alright, so there's what it looks like when it's ready. Now, obviously I'm not going to cook it on this pan right here. What I am going to do is move it onto my prepared grill pan. It looks like this right here. These right here are they're rib racks that I bought at Home Depot for about 13 bucks each. I got 2 of them. And they fit great into this this pan. I don't remember the exact measurements, but here's why I do it this way. Spread it across the rib racks. Here's why. Number one, I'm going to put this pan on my grill. I'm not going to put the meat directly on the grill. I've learned some lessons since I started. One of them being that the meat directly on the grill, all that juice drains right into the grill itself and then right out the side of the grill, right into the grease trap. All right? I want to capture that stuff. I've done some experimentation, and this is what I do. I want to capture that juice because that juice is going to end up becoming part of the what I pour back over the meat when I shred this and put it into a crock pot to keep it hot to serve people. And I have learned that letting that juice run right out the bottom of the grill, you lose a whole bunch of flavor with it right out there as well. So I started doing this right here, just something I came up with, and it works really, really well. All right, I got my temperature probe that came with the grill. This is the one that plugs directly into the grill. And I put that right into the thick end of the meat here. Nice and solid like. That's going to keep my temperature right there. So we're still watching for that grill to come up, temperature wise. All right, so here's that beef. Here's what it looks like sitting on the rack here. Again, I got my wire probe here, and that right there is going to go get plugged into the side of the grill. All right, she's all covered up, looks good. And we can see that the grill, I set it for 180 degrees. It's currently 192 inside the barrel out there, so it's ready to go. I'm going to set my probe temp. I'll show you this again once I get everything hooked up. She's in the grill. I put it in there. I set the probe for 200 degrees, and we'll talk more about that inside. So again, at this point, it's 1:20 in the morning, and we have the meat in the pan out here on the grill. My wire probe is plugged in. You see my screen there. Not really visible in the video, I don't think. But anyway, I've got the hoppers full of pellets. It's going to last a good long while. We'll go inside and talk about it now. All right, so here's what's going on. I've got it set at 180 degrees. All right, a good smoke occurs at 220 or lower, and I'm going to do brisket long and low and slow, as they say. It's 1:22 in the morning, right there, and I want to have this for dinner tonight, which is going to be, 1 in the afternoon would be, 1:30 in the afternoon would be 12 hours. So we're looking at 16, 17, 18 hours, something in that effect anyway. So here's our current grill temp, looking good. I've set the goal at 200 degrees. 205 degrees is my magic number that I'm looking for. Right now that meat is 60 degrees inside. That's the probe temp. I don't worry about this. I've not set any timers. I'm doing this all manually. So that's what my app is showing right there. 200 degrees is that magic number, but here's what's going to happen. In the morning, somewhere around 8 or 9 in the morning, I'm going to take that meat off the grill and put it inside the pan that it's sitting on top of right now, and I'm going to wrap it, and I'm going to soak it in apple juice and wrap it tightly with foil, and that's going to allow it to steam in that apple juice inside the pan, inside the foil, and the temperature will actually begin to climb very quickly that way. So I'm off to bed. I got my alarm set for morning. Gonna get up for work, and we'll be back on camera again in the morning. Good night. All right, it's 8:30 in the morning, and this is where we're at right now. You can see our temp is still set at 180. Our meat is now at 134 inside. Remember I said where our magic temperature is going to be 205 is when we take it off. What we're going to do now is we're going to wrap it and prepare it to steam in the apple juice. So let's go out here and take a look at it. First thing I do is check the hopper and make sure we still got plenty of pellets. Yeah, we're looking good. But here we go. And that is what it looks like right now. After those hours on the smoke at low temp, that looks really good. All right, nice hard bark on the outside of it, and we're going to take it inside and wrap it now. So here's what it's looking like. Got it in here. I'm going to keep the meat thermometer in it, even when I wrap it. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the rib racks out of there. So just lift it up gently, pry it off there. We're going to get those things are hot. I always forget that. They don't look hot, So we're going to get them out of there and lay the meat right down into the pan. One other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to end up putting 2 bottles of apple juice into this. So what I do is I pour one of them in here to get the bottom of the pan wet. The other one I will pour over the top. So just dump it in there, just like that. This will rack out of here. And you make sure that meat's down in there real good. We're going to cover this up. At this point, we're done smoking this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to steam it. Just try to get every part of it wet with the apple juice here. There you go. 2 bottles of Minute Maid apple juice, 10 ounce. And I got the heavy duty stuff, not the cheap foil, the thin stuff, but the heavy stuff. And we're going to wrap this in 2 pieces, nice and tight. So I'm going to walk out here and put it back on the grill, plug the temp probe back in, and then I will show you what I do with the heat. All right, so now the meat's back on the grill. It's all wrapped tight. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set the temp now up to 225. So 225 and confirm. And you should see this change. There we go. All right. My probe, I'm going to change that probe temp to my 205 now. That 200 was really just to wake me up in the middle of the night if it happened to get really, really hot quicker than I thought it would. That's kind of an alarm to me to let me know, hey, you got to slow it down, turn that heat down. So here we go. And through the day now, remember I'm looking for a 205 here. This will take a long time to come up to that temp. But when it's steaming, the way it is right now, it does go faster than during the smoke time. So I'm trying to gauge this to be ready for dinner, in the 5-6 p.m. time range right now. Right now it's 10 till 9 in the morning. So I got some time to run on this for a while. But if I get later into the day and I see that my temp over here is not anywhere close to this yet, I will start bringing this temp up and up and up until I get some heat building up in there and it starts to raise. And it will raise quickly when you get towards the end. But when you hit that 205, man, that's the magic temp. That's perfect. And that's when you take it out. So we'll be back later and have a look at this. Bye. All right, so it is 220 and this thing is definitely done. At this point we've hit our temperature and now all I'm trying to do is keep it warm until it's time for dinner. All right, Kyle, so here it is. We are getting ready to take it out. It's been wrapped. I haven't even opened it and looked at it yet. But it's been sitting in the oven, resting, staying warm since I took it off the grill earlier today. Now we're going to open it up to see what it looks like. And you can see, let me pull out my meat probe there, pull that out. Just going to pull that open. Look at that. It just pulls right open, just like that. You can see it's soft. You can see that. All that juice in there, we're going to end up using some of that. The little pot here, this is some of the leftover marinade that I kept cold in the fridge, and what I do is I just take just a little bit of that. I don't use all that. There's maybe a ½ inch in the bottom of that pan there, little 8-inch pot, and I'm going to take some of this juice right here, which is the apple juice and the meat drippings. And what I'm going to do is heat this up on the stove while I'm shredding the beef, and then I will pour it over it in the crock pot. This is what keeps it nice and moist while it's being served. So you don't need all of that. You just need, there's a good 1.5 inches or so in there. It's probably more, in fact, that is more than enough. But what I'm going to do is cut this up into chunks, fist-sized chunks, and we're going to put it into our shredder over there. So that's what we use for shredding right there. And just have this blade right there. Pop that on. And I'll throw the chunks in there. Crank that up and we turn it on and it turns it all up and shreds it. And then I drop it right into the crock pot right there. I'll pour that juice over top of it and we'll turn it on to stay hot and we'll have dinner. So I'll show that to you in a little bit. Got it all shredded up and now we're going to take that sauce and heat it up on the stove and just cover it up real good here. Again, you don't want to soak it in grease and juice. You just want to get it wet, have enough to keep it moist in there while it stays hot for your crowd. Right. That's probably good right there. There's only a little bit left. We'll just dump it in. Just take your tongs here and mix it up real good. Make sure that wet got all down through it. And you're ready to eat, my friend. Alright, we're going to let that heat back up a bit because now it's kind of cooled down while it's been out, but the crock pot is hot. And it's going to be good. There you go, Brisket 101. So now you can see the pigs are eating it.
You call us a pig?
I'm a pig.
Whoa, you're dead. He's dead. Say goodbye to your brother.
Look at Ellie. Chow down on that.
Say goodbye to your brother.
Brisket.
He's dead. Dead.
Bye. Enjoy your brisket, Kyle, once you make it.